I'm Anne-Marie McQueen, journalist and proud 50-ish woman, and we are here looking for the true truth in perimenopause, menopause, midlife, and beyond.
Opening our minds to other possibilities is not always easy.
Hotflash Inc.
You're all woman to me. All right, Anne-Marie.
I don't know. When I started Hotflash Inc, like maybe early on, so 4.5, 5 years ago, I saw you on social media. And I swear it was then. Were you on then?
Yeah, because we've had this business. We started the online business in 2017. So yeah, we would have been on then. 5 years.
So,
oh my God.
Well, I saw this cool woman. She was just so funny and just not like looked awesome like any other, because I'm sort of deciding what to do about fitness influencers with Hotflash at this time, right? I'm just like, what do I do with these people? And you weren't like in my age group. I thought you were way younger, but you were just so cool about, I don't know if you were into the metabolic stuff then, but you were very cool. And I've just been following you all along. And then I had sort of like a girl crush on you. And I'm like, oh, I wonder if she could ever be on my podcast someday. And then I opened my Instagram and there was a message from you asking if I would come on your podcast.
Yeah. I know, because I met Lyra and she's like, oh, I know this amazing woman in Abu Dhabi she told me about you. And yeah, then I messaged you and we just got along straight away. And then we went out for lunch and had the best lunch. And we sat there for like 5 hours chatting and eating,
all this time.
drinking champagne and eating all you can eat sushi and Japanese.
Yeah. And then having ice cream. And we're talking about Lara Bryden, who has been on the podcast a couple of times and has written several books. Her metabolic book is so good. Have you looked at it? Did you talk to her about
I've got
that?
it. She sent me a copy. Yeah. I've just got to read it. I've just been so busy, but it's sitting beside my other 10 books.
There. And you talked to her. Okay. So off the bat, I want to just get into the thing that drew me to you that made you so different was, you saying, yeah, I'm drinking this glass of orange juice. Oh, you know what? I have a Coke. I love a Coke once a week or once every so often. And you guys are all getting mad at me, but you're like chugging wine on the weekend and just this sort of really cool moderation and obviously like the no bullshit aspect. But where did this stuff creep in? It's metabolic health. It stems to repeat. Can you just sort of explain how you got on that and like how you started and how you got there?
Yeah. So I probably, like a lot of women and like you, we talked about this. I spent so much of my life just jumping from one crazy diet to the next, trying to be small, trying to achieve this number on the scale. So I cut carbs, I cut sugar, apart from when I was, having these huge binges on the weekend where I would just consume, chocolate and chips and pizza. And then I think, oh, it's okay. You can just start again Monday, Kitty. And I did that for like 17 years and I did every diet under the sun except for going vegan. I pretty much did everything except for going vegan. Every protocol of fasting, just did stupid shit. Like there's this drug in Australia that you take where you poop out any fat you eat, shit like that. Just crazy.
Oh yeah, we had that Alestra. They had that in the US.
Is that what it's called?
Canada as well. Yeah.
It was gross. It was so gross, but just anything to be small. Like I just wanted to be small. And I drank and I took drugs and just drowned my sorrows and emotions in booze. And, I just have always overworked. And anyway, so I got divorced and I was working with this, she was a kinesiologist and like a therapist, and we'd always talk about nutrition. And she actually introduced me to the work of Dr. Ray Peat and Emma Skarakis, who's now my business business partner in Saturee, our skincare and supplement company. And she introduced me to Dr. Ray Peat and, eating carbs and sugar. I remember reading her article defending fruit and other non-complex carbohydrates. And I was just like, oh my God, all these light bulbs were going off, no wonder I was binge eating all the time. I barely slept through the night. I had no energy. My hair was falling out. My skin was shit. I was like so moody, obsessed with food. And basically everything that she was telling me to do was like the opposite of what I had been doing. So, but I'm the sort of person who like goes all in with everything. So I emailed her and said, I just have to work with you. So she took me on as a client just before she was going on maternity leave with her second child, Oscar. And I did a 12-week block with her. And at the same time I met Craig. And so just pretty much she completely changed my life. And so did Craig. So Craig introduced me to strength training, like proper strength training. So I always would just kill myself with boot camps and HIIT classes and just heaps and heaps of like high intensity cardio. And I'm not saying you should never do cardio, but I mean, I was totally undernourished, just running myself into the ground, so stressed. And I had really bad cycle issues too, because this was when I was younger, in my like mid 30s. And basically all of that stress and dieting just caught up with me, and I just had all of these health issues, and I was just never happy with my body. Even when I got small, I was still unhappy. And so, yeah, I just went all in and started like drinking juice and eating carbs and fruit and dairy. Like, I was actually diagnosed with lactose intolerance when I was 12, and I drank soy milk, almond milk, cut out dairy completely till I met Emma. And then Emma said to me, look, it's not the dairy that's the problem, Kitty. It's your body's inability to digest it due to stress, stress digestive system. So we worked on all of that, and now I can just eat dairy, no issues. I eat heaps of ice cream. I love ice cream, milk, cheese. I love cheese. And so worked with her on the nutrition, like learned how to strength train with Craig. I fell in love with it. I competed in powerlifting. My cycles became regular and pain-free. I started sleeping through the night. I had way more energy. I just felt calm and just happy. And, Craig taught me about tracking my food and energy balance and focusing on body recomposition instead of just trying to be this number on the scales. And, me being me, just wanted to share it with everyone. So I left my job in mining, and Craig and I opened a gym, and that's when we developed our methodology. And then we designed this online program for women. So I'd say we follow a Peat inspired nutrition approach. So pro-metabolic eating. And what I love about it is that, Emma got me to start including all of these foods in my diet that I thought that I shouldn't eat, because the fitness industry tells you don't drink juice, don't eat fruit, it's too high in sugar, don't eat dairy. But all of these foods are so bloody delicious. They're just so.
What are they doing for your body? Like what? Because I know I feel the same way. I've had doctors tell me the same thing, but what are they doing? What they did for you, but what are they actually doing?
Well, I think, it's focusing on food that is easy to digest and nutrient dense, but also giving your cells the energy that they need. So, so many women cut carbohydrates, cut sugar, but fruit is packed with like really easy to digest energy and nutrients. And it's not that it's poison. Like, sugar isn't poison. If you go and just Google like cellular respiration, and you'll see that glucose is your cell's primary and preferred fuel source. So it's about finding the right amount of calories for your goal and your body. And that's part of what we do in our program. And it's so interesting. So many women come in, like we just seem to attract women in their 40s and 50s. So I'm 44 in January. I can't believe I'm 44. Holy shit. Yeah. 44, fuck. And so, I know, I'm like, I'm so old. Yeah.
It's all relative.
No, I'm kidding. But, it just seems weird, like how you're in your 50s, hey? And I don't feel like I'm in my 40s. I don't feel like I think
never. I saw a TikTok video last night of this really cool guy dancing like really well in his kitchen. And he said everyone who's 50 just feels like they're 20, going like, what the hell happened?
Yeah. It's crazy. It's so crazy. And so, like I realized that so Lara, she's got books around your cycle, and she talks about it being your fifth vital sign. So if you're healthy and everything's balanced and you're getting enough energy and nutrients and low stress, you should have a relatively asymptomatic cycle. And that what happens as we move into perimenopause and menopause, it's the same thing. If you're relatively healthy, then you should experience minimal symptoms. It's just because your body is out of balance. And, a lot of women say to me, I saw a lady comment on a post yesterday, and she's like, yeah, but I've been strength training and eating, well my whole life. But what we think is well may not necessarily be what's actually supporting our body, because I thought I ate healthy too. I ate all the nuts and the green vegetables and the seeds. I didn't eat too much carbs. I cut the sugar down, but that's actually not supporting your body. So it's so incredible. Like when women come into our program, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks in, and they're like, oh my God, I'm sleeping through the night. I'm not getting those hot flashes anymore. So all of those symptoms really are a sign of like, it's just a stressed body. So high cortisol, high adrenaline, low progesterone, low thyroid, but everyone's like, oh, you need to take estrogen. It's because you got low estrogen. Yeah. And I've recorded even Lara, the last podcast I did with her, she talked about when you're going through perimenopause, it's actually estrogen is higher and progesterone is lower. It's not a lack of estrogen. So I think women are just like sold this like we've talked about this
Yeah.
idea that it's because when you, and again, look, everyone has to do their own research and, like I've done a podcast with Kate around HRT. And for some women, if they're not going to make any lifestyle changes and they do take HRT, they're going to have a better quality of life, than if they do, if they do nothing. But when you're taking the hormones, it's not actually addressing the root cause, which is, I think, essentially a stressed body. And like we live in, like you and I talk about this, like we undereat, we overexercise, we don't get enough sleep, we drink too much booze, emotional stress. Like, oh my God, how much stuff have we shared? Like just this, I feel like I'm having this
very
fucking
similar.
awakening.
Well, I worked out as well. I ate super healthy. I wrote about health and wellness, but I was not healthy because I worked so hard. I over exercised like crazy. And I had all this like stuff I wasn't dealing with. And I had like chronic stress. So you must see this, like women who come in and
all the time.
But they step on the scale, maybe their blood work's fine, but they've got stuff like, so can you talk to me about that a little bit? The stuff you can't see.
Yeah, I think, like I always encourage women because I don't think blood tests aren't always necessarily a good indicator. Like they can come back fine and the doctor says, oh, you're all fine. But, when I think, when you think about like a healthy body, like what words would you use to describe it? Like if someone was healthy, I'd say, well, they can sleep through the night most of the time. Like, obviously there's times when you're stressed, you don't sleep, but you sleep 7 to 9 hours of uninterrupted sleep. You sleep through the night. You would be amazed. And even I've had this problem too. Like, and I do everything right with all of the food. But if I have emotional stress going on in my life, I wake up at 2 a.m. Like it's incredible. As soon as I deal with that, then I sleep again through the night. And it's the stuff I've been working with Greta. But, like, do you sleep through the night? Do you wake up? Do you actually feel rested most of the time? Are you peeing 4 to 5 times a day, not 10 times a day? Do you have stable moods and, relatively good energy most of the time? Good skin, strong nails, strong hair, relatively asymptomatic cycle, relatively few perimenopausal or menopausal symptoms. You can maintain a healthy weight and healthy body fat without doing extreme amounts of exercise. Warm hands and feet, that's another one. A lot of women, they've got like these free, and you just generally feel happy, So
do you get a lot of people arguing with you about this? Because hormone therapy is like it's really being pushed as not only the solution, but the thing that we need to actually be healthy as we're older.
I think that women just don't know. Like, I think a lot of women who come to me, I think they're more open when they join our program to looking at other ways and being educated. Like when I met Emma and read all of Ray's work, I was like, oh, this is so interesting, and learning about how the body actually works and hormones. And I think the other thing too is like a lot of them come to us and they've tried all the diets at their end of their tether. They've done everything. They're like, I'm ready to just look at my life. I'm ready to look at my life. Like even with me, I took with the emotional stuff with Greta, like, I went through a lot of, now I've told you everything with Craig and our businesses. And like, I just sort of got to the point where she's like, you have to deal with this shit now. Like you can't fucking push it down anymore. You do everything right on paper, but you have to deal with this. You have to face this. Otherwise it's going to keep affecting your sleep. And I think so many women come to us and they're like, okay, this makes a lot of sense. I need to look at my life and make lifestyle changes and deal with, we've had Greta speak in our program and so many women are like, oh, that was incredible.
So tell people about Greta and how you started working.
So Greta is I don't know what she's sort of evolving to. Like, I don't know, she's sort of like a spirituality coach or an emotional coach, or I don't know, what would you call it?
Not a therapist, because I'm going to be
not
working
a therapist.
No,
yeah, she's not a therapist, but she helps. It's so hard to describe what she does, but she really helped me get in alignment with what I truly wanted and work through, because I think I had a lot of, like, I would strive and strive and strive to, achieve in the business, to have the marriage, to, have everything so that I could prove to myself that I was enough. Like
yeah, you are enough. You just
and just really getting clear on like what is it I wanted in my life and what my heart wanted, and then lining up with that and then taking action. And that might have meant that my marriage was we weren't going to be together. Like it didn't, that didn't happen. Craig and I we evolved together. But there was a point when I thought that we weren't going to get married, you know?
Right.
So,
Right.
but yeah, so she just really, like, I think if you're stuck with your body, with your marriage, with, you know, work, or you just, I feel like a lot of women hit their 40s and 50s and then they're like, oh, what the fuck do I do now? Like, I've been putting everyone else first my whole life. I'm a mother. Who am I outside of being a mother? I mean, I'm not a mother, but this is just some of the, I'm in this relationship that I'm not happy in.
Yeah.
You know, they just
This
don't know
is a
what to.
huge one. Do you wonder sometimes, because the big conversation around libido, and I
Yes.
look around my own social circle and wider social circle. I don't want to single anyone out, but you know, there's divorces, there's unhappy marriages, and I think this has to be playing a part. Anytime I've been in I'm single, but anytime I've been in a relationship that's not happy, it's the most stressful thing ever. This has to be driving perimenopause, and if you're denying it completely, what's that doing to you?
Totally. And I also think, you know, like part of it is like, are you looking after your body at a like biological level? Like, are you nourishing it? Are you getting enough nutrients? Are you sleeping? But then I think there's also like, and this is just probably maybe a bit of fucking overshare, but like, I know that if I'm not actually nourishing my soul, like, you know, if I'm working too much and, you know, some of the things that Greta's got me doing now, I've started to every day is 15 minutes of meditation, just doing a few lines of journaling, what I'm grateful for, not working myself into, you know, you and I have talked about this. Not working myself into the ground. Like, I've definitely gotten so much better, and not just taking action out of fear, but, you know, taking action that's in alignment with my heart. Like, when I find I'm nourishing myself, I feel sexier. I feel like I want to have sex with Craig.
Yeah.
But if I've not done those things, like, we'll go and have sex and I'm a bit tapped out, like I'm all in my head and I'm not in my body and I'm not in my heart. And it's just so interesting. Like, I think there's, you know, it's just still something that I'm still working on. Like,
Well, we've touched on this a little bit, but it's a whole other conversation, but how I suspect myself, I've started to realize, and many people my age and your age have not been having the sex that we want. We've been having a different kind of sex, a performance-based, outwardly focused, not
what do they want me to do? Like,
being in my body. Yes.
Yeah.
What has that done to us? And we continue to do it and abandon ourselves every time. And it doesn't mean that the guy we're with is some bad guy. We're doing it. Yeah,
we're doing it. Totally. That's and one of the things that Greta's really helped me with is like, this is on me. Like, so much of this stuff is like, it's not Craig's fucking job to prepare me for the bedroom. I'm like, he can't obviously, but, you know. But, you know, so much of it is like,
she's a picture of him like dressing you in with something lingerie.
But she's like, you need to nourish yourself.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just so interesting. And the more and more we go down this path and, you know, you take ownership and you just, I don't know, but I feel like so many women, like we've talked about this in depth, would feel like us, you know, and just,
You're honest with yourself. I think a lot of women are having a lot of problems. And I say this because I was that woman with the horrific perimenopause, just really unaware, thinking you're aware and unaware, because there's like this level where you think you are, you're going to yoga and you meditate and you read the articles. All right.
You're doing the shit.
Yeah. And you're not at all.
I just want to add quickly something to that, because I've just got this really interesting message from a client she's an old client of ours. I really like her. She was in the program for years, and she had like she just was stressed, you know, like had all these, and we thought it was from her job. And, you know, she was, I think, diagnosed with ADHD or something. She was telling me how, like, they got her to take Ritalin. Anyway, she messaged me this morning and she just made a comment in one of my stories. And I was like, oh, how are you? She lives in New Zealand. I was like, did you end up finishing the renos? Because last time I spoke to her, she was doing renos on a house. And I just want to read you this message because I feel like this just hammers home the point that I won't tell you her name, but I really like her. She's like, wow, that's so, because I told her how I'm moving to Thailand. She's like, oh, that's so cool. Yeah, I did it just in time to sell out, and then I left my husband, lol. Had massive life changes this year, Kitty, and it's been so healing for me. And she's in my age, she's in her 40s, and made things make a lot more sense. I always thought work was my biggest stressor for cortisol and sleep, but work's been the same, and I slept like a motherfucking baby now. I stopped taking the Ritalin I was given when I left too and never looked back. You know, you're just like, fuck, like,
is anything else?
Yeah, do you know, like when you're maybe not living in alignment, when you're not living in alignment. And I just, yeah, you can be, she was a good client too, did everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
So just, I think there's so much like we talked about of this healing that's, I mean, you need both. You can't be eating fucking 1,200 calories and be all spiritually fucking aligned and living in alignment. And, you know, like, I think you need both, but there's a lot of women I think that there's that part that they're missing or they're not living in alignment. And then, so they're still stressed.
What would you say to women who are in their 40s who are kind of just falling apart and maybe haven't had a exercise routine? Like, where would you suggest they start?
I would think start with food first. Like you need to give, I think also too, when you're going to face some of this emotional shit, like if you're not well nourished and looking after your body and doing those basic things, like what I find a lot of women in our program, they're like, oh, I did everything you said. And then I was able to make these changes or face this because I was supporting my body, you know, with enough food and nutrients. I would start with food, I think, first. And then walking is great. Like get out, get sun and walk. And like just even basic strength training. Like I know it's scary, but I mean, look, we have a program obviously that you can join, but I think if you can follow some sort of basic program, you know, and even if you just start with doing 2 days a week, you know, 2 days a week, and just like, remember you said we were talking about the lifting heavy and you're like, oh God, the thought of lifting heavy is scary. But I'm like, well, heavy is relative to the person. Like heavy for you might be, you know, leg pressing 20 kilos. That's okay. You just build up from there. So I think you've just got to start, you know, but I would start with the food and walking in the sun and then add some strength training in. And I think if you can just like if you just do one thing a week, like just start, you know, and doesn't have to, never perfect. Like there's no perfect, like just do it and do the best that you can. And just take consistent, imperfect action and do one thing at a time. But I think the food is so important. But I think movement is really important too. Like I feel like the strength training is so empowering as well. I had this group call with yesterday, and one of the girls jumped on, and she maybe like 16 weeks ago, before I went back to Australia, she was doing the dumbbell only program, and she really was like, "Oh, Kitty, I want more body composition change. I want muscle." I said, "Listen, you're at a gym. Why don't you just do a program that has deadlifting in it? Like do one of the 12-month roadmap programs." She's like, "Oh, but I'm really scared of deadlifting." I said, "That's totally understandable." But I said, "Look, don't worry. No one's looking at you. I just want you to do this. Just give it a try." So she went in, she started deadlifting. She'd send me videos on a call. I'd give her feedback. Yesterday, she sent me a video of her deadlifting 85 kilos for 9 reps, and they were good and they were solid. And she said to me, she's like, "Oh my God, Kitty." She's like, "I can feel my body changing, see it changing." My husband even said to me, "I can see that you've got some like abs coming out." Like she's always like, "Oh, my stomach's been such a problem." So instead of always focusing on, let's reduce calories, we increased her calories more and got her lifting. And she didn't start at that. She started at like 30 kilos. And she's like, "I feel so powerful."
That's the
Powerful.
thing. What do you see? Like you must see like the energetic transformation, like the emotional transformation from becoming physically strong to see this.
It all the time. Like what did she say? "I feel like such a badass when I deadlift." She's from the UK. She's so funny. And I said to her, "Okay, next week I want you to try 90. I said, you're going to hit 100 kilos soon." She's like, "I actually believe you, Kitty. I never thought I could do this." And this has happened in 4 months.
Right.
Like, wow. Do you know, like you're actually so much more capable than what you think.
Mm-hmm.
You just got to believe and start, you know?
Okay. So to a person who has never, obviously you have a program.
Look, I think you need to invest in coaching, some form of coaching, because it's like, how the fuck are you going to know what to do and safely? So like, this is one of the reasons why we developed our group coaching program, to make coaching, our app, all of this incredible information so accessible to like, to more women. And like, you know, like I'd be happy to offer your listeners, like sometimes we run specials on it. I can just send you some stuff and they can have a look. But you know, you come in, you get to work with Craig and I, you get a program that's customized to you. All of the exercises have videos. You can jump on the group calls. You can show us your training videos. We help you with all the macros, the food, everything. So it's like, we're going to give you a roadmap. We're going to look at where you are now and then give you a roadmap to get to where you want to be. And as long as you can just show up and just like, you don't have to be perfect. Like you just have to chip away, you'll get there. Like this woman, it's amazing. Yeah. But you've got to believe that you can too. But you just like, imagine if you just improved like 1% a week. like where you would be in 12 months. So this is what I say. This is why I love our training app so much, because basically when you come in and you start our program, you have your program. The first week is a testing week. So for example, let's say we give you the leg press, you watch the video on the leg press, you just load up whatever weight you think you could do, maybe 8 reps. Just have a guess. You do as many reps as you can with good form. You put it in the app, and then every week the app will tell you, okay, this is what weight you have to do. This is how many reps. And it calculates, it tracks your calculated 1 rep max. So you just want to see that go up over time. So I say to women, imagine if you increase that by just 1 kilo every week, just 1 kilo. Like imagine where you'd be in 12 months. And that's the whole thing. It's just because it's never going to tell you to do anything you can't really do because you've done that the week before. And that's what I love about it. It's because if you just show up and you just give that little bit more effort every week and you eat your food, like it's just so simple.
But if what you're talking about is just such, okay, so it's going to be amazing for your body, but it's such a good metaphor for the rest of your life because like if you just started your business by doing this just a little bit, you had an idea of where you want to go and now you have it. And people, and like I started Hotflash with barely anything. And then it's like little bit late by little, it's never fast enough for me, but it's the way it goes. And every single thing, learning to dance or training for a marathon or whatever, it only ever starts this way. It's not, and I think we still see transformations and they're just like, oh, I could never do that. I could never get there.
Totally, because it's so far away from where you are now. But I look at all our transformations and they're 12 months. Like it's, and people, and like if anyone who's selling you can get your dream body and fix all your health issues in 12 weeks, you just can't. Like if you want it to be sustainable, and you want it, because if you go into anything and think, I can't do this for the rest of my life, don't do it. Like obviously there's going to be periods where you have to, like with our program, you come in and you're doing a fat loss phase, you have to be more consistent and more diligent with hitting your macro targets every week. But we give you, like we help you do meal planning and make it easier, like give you systems and stuff. When you get to the point where you're happy with your body composition, you don't even have to track your food anymore. You'll just be able to eat and know, and then lift the weight. So can you commit to 3 days a week strength training for the rest of your life? I think most women can. Can you commit to getting some form of movement in? It could be whatever you like. It doesn't have to be walking. Just do what you enjoy. We encourage women to do what they enjoy in terms of cardio and movement. And can you nourish your body with delicious food every day? It becomes enjoyable.
When I was a newspaper editor, I banned all headlines that said, "New Year, New You." We do not need to be any different, in my opinion. Now, renewing ourselves, that's something I can get behind. One way to go about this is Metabolic by Timeline. Metabolic contains the rare postbiotic urothalin A. It works by promoting a process of cellular cleanup that clears out dysfunctional mitochondria. And mitochondria are what power your cells, which are what power you. Mitopure's own testing has shown improvements in energy levels, recovery time, endurance, and more. Timeline is offering 33% off your order of Mitopure while supplies last. Go to timeline.com/hotflash33. That's timeline.com/hotflash33.
What do people do when they're doing all this and then their stress is still to the max? What do you see people do?
Well, I think this, because you're going to have times in your life where there's going to be stressful periods. Like it's, I think also too, you build your resilience to stress. So I've been through I've been through a lot of stressful times. I think I'd probably be fucking dead if I hadn't had all the tools that I've had, because you can build your resilience to stress by actually eating enough food, getting enough protein, balancing your blood sugar, getting enough of the right nutrients in, obviously, movement, sunlight, trying to get sleep. Obviously you don't want to have prolonged periods of like really chronic stress, but you're never going to go through life and have no stress. But I think it's trying to either changing it or changing how you respond to stress, like things. So yeah, I've seen women, go through that, but we just try to get them to focus on the basics. Like, they might be having a really busy time at work, right? That's like, they're more extended than they usually would, or there's some stressful time with the kids. Like, all right, just make sure, like, prep your food every week, prioritize that, get enough nutrients in. If training's your time where you go and train and it's your self-care, go and do it. It doesn't even matter if you don't fucking hit PBs. Just go and move. Get some walks in. Pardon?
I said that's personal best, right?
Yeah.
This is the language that people are like,
yeah, what the fuck's PBs? Yeah. So personal.
No, I don't know.
You may not be like, I've had times when I've trained, when we've been really busy, where I'm not actually making any progress. I just lift. I just go in and I move and I lift because it's good for my head, So, and I make sure I eat my food, and try and do, but yeah, that's just life. You're going to have stressful periods. But I think like if you can consistently fucked all the time, like you have to change your life, right? Like
If you're consistently fucked. No, but I mean, I say perimenopause first. The first symptom is denial, because a lot of times women don't want to believe they have it, right? Like I see this in your age group all the time. But the other thing is, like, I think it's kind of like, unfortunately, when the tide goes out, it leaves a bunch of garbage on the beach in some places, and it's like, what is your garbage, and how can you sort of start to clear it up? Because I think unless you get this stress piece, but not this, it's not the life stress that you can't do anything about. I think do anything about that, but it's the stuff that you're carrying inside of you, that ball that you're trying to shove under the water that up, right?
Yeah, and some people might not have that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying everyone has that, but then it's all the basic, like, are you actually eating enough?
Yeah.
Are you actually eating foods that contain the nutrients that your body needs? So like, we get all our clients to eat liver and oysters and fresh food.
Why? And this is repeat. Explain this. Explain this.
So liver and oysters, I think of them like nature's multivitamin. So liver is probably one of the most nutrient dense foods on the planet. It contains really high levels of preformed vitamin A, which is used in the production of your like youthful steroid hormones. So pregnenolone, progesterone. So progesterone reposes estrogen, has copper, it has B vitamins, CoQ10. It's just incredible. And then oysters are like your mineral supplements. So they have zinc, selenium, and copper. So you don't need to take a multivitamin. It's like, just eat liver and oysters. They're amazing. And or if you don't want to eat them fresh, this is why my business partner and I made freeze-dried organic beef liver, and we freeze-dried Tasmanian oysters from Australia. So they're the highest quality, amazing. And I just say to women, just get it in however you can. Like some women make pate. I love pate, beef liver pate. Just get it in every week. Think of it think of it like a supplement, and I just get the most incredible like testimonials from women saying that when they started to eat them, and collagen as well, that they've seen just such improvements in their skin. Like it was interesting. I was at the gym with this friend of mine, and she's young. She's only like 32, and she was asking, we were just talking about Botox, and she's like, because I got maybe like, it would have been like 3 or 4 years ago, just before we started Saturee, when I worked in the gym, there was about a year when I got Botox. And then I was like, again, I'm not judging anyone for getting Botox, but just for me, I was like, oh, why, like, Kitty, why are you really getting Botox? And does this really align with who you want to be? And you got this skincare company and your whole pro-metabolic approach. And I really wanted to just try and accept my lines. And so anyway, so I stopped. I didn't do the Botox. I got the lips done once and they looked like a fucking puffer fish. And it bloody hurt. So anyway, I stopped getting it. And we were in the gym and she's like, oh, so when you go get your Botox, I was like, oh, I just don't get Botox. And she's like, oh, what do you mean you don't get Botox? Like, it's like this thing, like, can't believe you don't get Botox. And then I just explained to her and she's like, oh, your skin actually looks really good. And I think it's just because of the good nutrition, and the skincare that we've created, this skincare in saturated, stable fats, no polyunsaturated fats. So, I think, well, I just want to try and look the best I can for my age,
You raised polyunsaturated fats, and I don't think I don't know if a lot of people know what they are and why you should avoid them, but can you just give
it was really interesting when I met Emma, and like she's like, oh, just tell me about PUFAs. So there's monounsaturated, saturated, and polyunsaturated. So saturated fats are the most stable of all fats, and polyunsaturated fats, they have like, if you looked at the structure, and they have like missing atoms, so they're unstable. So they basically oxidize with heat and light and oxygen. So we're like warm-blooded. So think of things like canola oil and flaxseed oil and sunflower oil, and they're all these like man-made oils. And so, and I always say to women, it's not about being bloody perfect. Like you don't have to because most fats will contain some, a blend of all three, but you want to focus more on saturated fats because they're stable. They come from animals. They're not going to oxidize. They're good for cooking. And so, it's just about, because you look in all of like packaged foods, full of canola oil, all of these seed oils. And again, nuts and seeds and things contain them as well. And I'm like, look, it's not that you can never eat nuts, but just like I used to like eat, you know, like jars of nut butter.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
now it's like, you know, like sometimes I might have a sprinkling of like, I don't know, fucking pine nuts on a salad or something. But instead, before I'd be eating almonds at every bloody snack.
Yeah.
So
Healthy.
yeah. So it's not about, again, this is what I like about this approach. It's not like you never eat any of these foods. You just try and reduce the consumption of, and like we'll go out for dinner. Like, you know, we went out for lunch. There would have been some fucking, probably some seed oils in that food. But I'm
Oh,
like,
for sure.
it just doesn't matter because it's not like we're eating this for every meal, every single day. And when your body's healthy, it's just about being aware, I think, and lowering your consumption of the polyunsaturated fats.
Yeah. It's not
you
stress.
know,
It's not,
nah,
I've been
I
like
don't,
really scared and vigilant and weird and like, oh, I tried to remove everything. And because I've had a lot of gut issues, but
mm,
to me, if I'm taking care of myself and I'm not eating very much, I can
yeah,
handle some. And that's what I think is interesting because if I'm stressed and things aren't going well, that's good. I can't handle, I can't
yeah,
handle a little bit in a restaurant meal. And that's what I find is interesting. It's always about
totally.
your emotional state, I think, more than anything else. And if you're walking around terrified of,
Yeah.
industrial food and all that stuff that we see so much of, right? It's like
Yeah.
all of it
Again,
is too.
it's just being aware, I think, in making these changes. Like if you're someone who's skipping meals and eating a lot of takeaway, it's like, all right, well, let's focus first on making mostly homemade meals and eating regular meals, and then you might eat out once a week. Like that's so much better,
Yeah.
you know, and then you might make better choices when you go out. You
Okay,
know,
can you
it's
tell
not.
me? Oh,
Mm.
sorry, I cut you
No,
off.
go.
No, what were you gonna say? That was rude.
I
I just
can't
got
remember. I
excited.
think just saying about just don't worry about being perfect. Yeah, you'll kill yourself.
Yeah. Okay. So you're on social media, you're huge, huge following. What do you see? What drives you nuts that you see from other fitness people? Yeah.
Oh, look, I try not to like focus too much on what everyone else is doing,
Okay.
like, or because I just think you just, and try not to like rant too much about other people because I'm just like, oh, it just drains my energy. And I just try and focus on my message and what I'm doing. And I think, well, the women who resonate with me will come
Yeah.
to me and I just keep, but I think, oh,
Or
I
what
mean,
should people be careful of, do you think? Like what makes you worried
well, I
for women?
think there's no, you've got to just be like, use your brain and start, not use your brain, but just if you've done the quick fixes your whole life, like start taking some ownership and responsibility. And like, if it seems too good to be true, like if someone says to you, you can get your dream body and fix all of your health issues in 12 weeks, like it's probably not going to be realistic. Like there just isn't a quick fix. Like I've been there too with business and invested in coaching and marketing things. And then now I'm just like, Kitty, there is no quick way. Like you need to, obviously you can focus on doing the right things, but it takes time. And I think you've got to like fall in love with the journey and the process, you know, like the women who come into a program, like they genuinely start to love to eat the food and be consistent, and they love to strength train and be active, and they actually enjoy the day-to-day process. So I think, you know, if you're just looking for this, I want to take this supplement. And again, I'm not saying that supplements aren't beneficial, but if you don't have the the solid foundations, it's not because I've done it. I've done everything. I've taken all the supplements. I've tried to squash down this emotional shit
You
for
really
years and
have
years.
taken all you really have
I've
taken
taken,
all the supplements. I've
I've
never
done
met anyone
everything.
the,
Yeah,
the fat pooping one ever in my
yeah,
life.
done it all. Took
Oh,
Duramine. You know,
what's
like there's
that?
just
What's that?
it's like a weight loss drug, just suppresses your appetite.
Okay.
You know, like you've got to address the root cause, and sometimes that's scary. You know, but I think, like I say to women, if you just spent 12 months with us focusing on your foundations, like even Greta's doing calls in our group now every month to help with the emotional stuff. I'm like, you'll be amazed at what you can achieve in 12 months.
Yeah.
Like life-changing shit, you know, and what's 12 months? What's 12 months in the grand, when you're at like 50, you've still got another 40 years, hopefully, or 50 years, you know, so I think it's just stay away from the quick fix, because it's just going to lead you right back to like, if someone's like, yep, you just lose, you know, I don't want to talk about, because I don't like talking about other people. Like I try
No,
not
I
to
shouldn't even.
comment. Yeah, but
But I
that's
think
okay. Like I understand what the question you're asking. And then again too, I think if you can open your mind to like Ray's work and Lara's work, I interviewed that, what's her name? Pryor, what's it, the doctor in this the progesterone
Geraldine
doctor.
or Geraldine,
Yeah,
Dr. Geraldine Pryor. Yeah.
yeah, interviewed her. There's another one who's really great too. It's like, like we promote using bioidentical progesterone, but again, you still have to have the foundations, like focus on the foundations and not the quick fix. Sorry,
You
what were you gonna
said
say?
you said open your mind. And
Mm.
what I think the problem is that a lot of times this pro-metabolic eating, it's maligned. It's
Mm.
maligned in a way, like in a sort of concerted way. Like Ray Peat is dismissed as a
I know,
kook by
quack.
a lot of a
Yeah,
quack. Yeah. So that's coming
which
from,
is
because
which
people
is
who won't make money,
yeah,
if
yeah,
everyone like ate like Ray Peat, then you wouldn't be having all this seed
yeah.
oil in you,
And you know
right?
what? The interesting thing is when I worked with Emma, like I said to Emma when she was telling me about the foods, I said to Emma, I was like, do you know what? This is just like my grandma used to feed me. My grandma died at like 95. I'd go to her house. I remember when I was like 6 and stay there. She would have the glass um container, like that had the butter in it. So she would keep the butter on the bench. She would cook with lard. We would have eggs cooked in. I remember she'd crack the eggs in the butter. We'd have homemade bread. She'd squeeze oranges and make us fresh orange juice every day. She would cut up pawpaw from her garden. She'd make my granddad kidney and livers and parsley on toast. Like it was gross, but like, the organ meats. They'd had this boat
Parsley,
and
so good for
yeah,
you.
parsley. Yeah, we'd go fishing and crabbing, and we'd all this beautiful fish and oysters. My granddad loved oysters, dairy. So the milk would get delivered in the like with the little tops on
Those
it.
little
She'd make
bottles, yeah.
custards, ice cream. She made the most beautiful custard. She'd bake like shortbread with just flour, sugar, butter, big roast meats. We'd have salads, but they'd be side salads. It wasn't like she wasn't cooking with fucking almond flour and making green smoothies and stuff. Like they ate good quality nutrient. And if you just look at historically, this isn't anything new. It's
Yeah.
not. It's nothing crazy. It's just good old fashioned nutrient dense, easily digestible foods.
Yeah.
And they were
Yeah.
active. My grandparents were active. Like my granddad, he was always out in his boat. He got a lot of sun. Like it's
Yeah.
just it's not even anything crazy.
No, I come from
Yeah.
farmers too, and I remember my dad telling me before they got refrigeration, like they
Mm.
would sometimes they would all have a fridge, but they would get one cow, like the community would share it, and then they would
Yeah.
like cut the meat, and they had pie, and they made these huge meals for the workers, but they were all this kind of food, and it's just interesting, and I think there's just a block for people to open their mind because there is a movement to malign it, to make you think that those people are quacks. But I feel like, listen, just look. Like when I start seeing that like more and more now, when I start seeing someone I thought was a quack, I'm like, wait a second. Take another look. They're probably worth listening to. Okay, what else? We gotta go. One more question. This has nothing to do with anything, but you were on Survivor Australia and like you're a survivor. Tell
It
me,
was
like,
crazy. Oh my God. It was like I lost like 7 kilos.
is it
7
as bad?
kilos.
Okay. Is
Yeah,
it as, do you
it's
get to take lip balm, Kitty? I
no
would
lip
die.
balm. Oh my God, my lips were so dry. It was the worst. It was the most incredible experience. Like, and just I got lost my period, didn't get my period for like 12 weeks. So I got it just when I arrived and then didn't get it again for another 12 weeks. So I lost 7 kilos. I remember coming out into the jury villa and I just binged and binged. Like they had chips and chocolate. And I remember the second day, I was like, all right, I'm not going to do this. And I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm just going to eat whatever the fuck I want. I ate chips, chocolate until the point where I got sick of it. And then I went home
Yeah.
and got back to my normal food. But I didn't sleep for like months after. Like it took
Really?
me, yeah, to actually sleep fully through the night, like eating
Why?
more food. And I don't know, I think my body's just stressed. Took a couple of months to just get my period back, get to sleeping back, just feeling good. Like the first couple of weeks, I was just drained,
Okay.
and I thought this is what women feel like who do these I mean, that was very extreme,
Yes.
obviously.
Yeah.
Very. You were eating like the first 3 days we didn't eat at all because we lost the first challenge. So we didn't get fire and we didn't get a flint until the third day. So we had nothing to eat for 3 days and pretty much didn't sleep because it was raining and we were trying to like build a shelter and it was
How,
insane.
how did you manage it mentally?
I think you just like do it. You just are like, okay. I ended up coming sixth, which is surprising because I had no fucking idea what I was doing and I wasn't very good at lying.
Is that what you need to be good at?
Yeah, you need to be good, like crafty, and I was terrible. I'm surprised I lasted that long. But I think, towards the end, I remember we got these letters from home. So everyone got to write letters and I got one, everyone cried. We sat around and read the letters and cried and cried and cried. I missed him so much in the end, Craig.
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah, I thought about him so much. I couldn't wait to get home. I mean, you don't and no contact. You have no contact with him. Zero.
Or anything. No phone,
Craig,
nothing.
Nothing. Craig was like, it was like you died. That's what it felt like, he said.
Oh, it's like super hard for everyone.
Yeah.
Hey, the thing I always wonder about is, I've had jobs over the years and there's always someone super annoying near you and you want to punch them in the face, but you're like, okay, that's just Evan. I have to deal with him.
Yeah.
How do you deal with those people? Like, were there not people just driving you around a bend when you're already hungry, you haven't slept? Or is that just
I don't think I did really, because I like most people, I'm pretty, I don't know. there was no one that I was like, oh, you're a fucktard. I just really
Okay.
but there were people obviously that we got along with more, and then you aligned yourself with different people. But I think I don't know, you just get on with it. It's not. But it was I'm glad I went because that was the catalyst for all of these changes that happened in our business, in my personal life. Like, I really feel I was meant to go on there for a reason.
Okay.
Because I wouldn't be where I am with Craig and we made huge changes to the business. We had a massive reno of our relationship personally.
Well, I think a lot of people need a reno of their relationship. Yeah. And I always joke that I'm going to write a book called Everything I Learned About Marriage by Staying Single. I think I might have told you that.
Yeah.
I have a lot of,
I love it.
I need to pay attention to myself, but I have been, but also it just seems like reno. That's everyone's renoing their house and talking about it endlessly. Like what the relationship.
I think it's probably more of you do the reno on yourself. Like, that's what I've realized. It's the self.
You both need to.
Yeah. Yeah. So
what do you think if you were going to do the reno and your partner was going to do the reno?
Well, that sort of happened in our relationship. And obviously what happened, but I'm not going to talk about it because Craig needs the privacy. But there were things that we were doing that I was not really aligned with, but doing it to people please. And then I didn't want to do it anymore. And I had to just be willing to walk away and just decide that, I'm not going to judge you anymore. Like, if you want to continue to do that things, it's not in alignment with my heart and what my heart wants, and you can be free, But then that just forced him to decide what was more important, and but there was a whole lot of other things that happened. But it was so, now that I'm at the other side, I'm so grateful for it, and we're closer than we've ever been. Okay. And our relationship's so much better and stronger, and as individuals we've grown, and I'm just so grateful to Greta. I'm so excited that you're working with her. She's just life-changing, really.
Okay, so final words, if you have any advice to someone who's listening to this, it's like, I feel like I need to do this kind of reno. I feel like this is the thing. What courage do they need? How can you help them find it?
Oh, look, again, I think coaching, find someone that has the results that you want, that you resonate with, that, and then like me, I invested in coaching with Greta. I'm working with another business coach now, you are, because I think it's just too difficult to do it on your own. And just go all in for the journey, and just, you can feel better.
How much does it help to, you have a community, to find a community of people who are doing the same thing? Because sometimes your social circle, they're not doing.
And I think too, a lot of the women will say to me, oh, Kitty, what should I do? All my friends are fucking fasting and doing keto. This one woman messaged me. She's joined it. She's been there 2 months, and she's slowly, her body's changed. She's like, I feel so much better. I'm eating all the food. And she's like, it's so hard though, because all my friends are doing keto and fasting. And I'm like, I said to her, listen, how many times have you done that shit and what happens? And she's like, yeah, you're right. She's like, it always ends the same way. So I'm like, look, just keep going. You're doing awesome. She's like, I'm hitting PBs in the gym. I'm sleeping better. I'm feeling so much better. Slowly, my body's changing. Because I think and again, I've worked through this stuff and I'm still working through it. I've spoken with you about the body stuff, the not loving your body, and just, and it's okay to want to change your body. It's okay, because that's what we do in our program. But it's not magically. Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
sat with you. You have a dream body, a body I would dream to have. And so to think, this is really for a person who isn't a fitness person to think that you have those same thoughts that I do. It's like,
it's ridiculous because I think I have always for like, keeping in powerlifting, I've been much leaner than I am now. It's not that I'm fat in any way, but I still have sometimes will have these thoughts about, I should be leaner. Even though I'm at a healthy body fat range, I've got lots of muscle. It's just interesting though. And Greta was like, when is it that you're having these thoughts? Or when something's going wrong outside and I feel like I need to control. And it's good, I'm aware of it now, So it's just really interesting. But yeah, I sometimes still have those thoughts.
That's crazy.
Still.
Yeah.
I know. It's crazy, isn't it?
No, it's just but I get it. Okay, I will let you go. We got to go. We'll talk lots more. And I want to learn all more about your course and everything. So what do you have to offer? Just tell people where they can find you.
Yeah, so I'll just send you all my, I'd say probably the best place is Instagram. So KITTYBLMFILD. And then you can find our podcast there, our offers, our coaching program, our group coaching program, our app and everything. So yeah, working on some new stuff too.
Your company with your supplements.
Saturee. Yep. Thanks so much for having me on.
Thank you for coming.
Hotflash Inc was created and is hosted by Anne-Marie McQueen, produced and edited by Sonia Mack. The information contained in this podcast is intended for informational purposes only and is not intended for the purpose of diagnosing, treating, curing, or preventing any disease. Before using any products referenced on the podcast, consult with your healthcare provider, read all labels, and heed all directions and cautions that accompany the products. Information received through the podcast should not be used in place of a consultation or advice from a healthcare provider. If you suspect you have a medical problem, i.e. menopause or anything else, or any healthcare questions, please promptly see your healthcare provider. This podcast, including Anne-Marie McQueen and any producers or editors, disclaim any responsibility from any possible adverse effects from the use of any information contained herein. Opinions of guests on this podcast are their own, and the podcast does not endorse or accept responsibility for statements made by guests. This podcast does not make any representations or warranties about a guest's qualifications or credibility. This podcast may contain paid endorsements and advertisements for products or services. Individuals on this podcast may have direct or indirect financial interest in products or services referred to herein. This podcast is owned by Hotflash Inc Media.